doing pretty well. You know, I was
Hang on, I can barely hear you at all. Let me go get me some headphones. All right, I am back, my friend. Let me hook these up. Maybe I can hear you. All right, now go.
all right. I am doing well today. You know, I have some exciting things to look forward to. I started working out again. You know, just
Nice.
trying to work on my health. You know, because mental health and physical health are tied together. When you have good physical health and can look at yourself in the mirror and love what you see, you feel better. You
Oh yeah.
more together. So yeah, that's what I want to do with my time. You know, figure out
Well,
how to make myself a little bit hotter. Just a little. Have to rely on chains and whips and things like that to make me sexy.
yeah, I know what you mean, man. I'm trying to get rid of this dad bod.
Never. Never.
That's why I'm covered in sweat right now, man. I was just outside trying to fix my forge, and oh, it was just not working. All I was getting heat, but only one of my burners was working, and man, was it frustrating. But I did like a 3-hour live this morning just trying to get my forge going.
3 hours, you say?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, let it be known that Clint has stamina.
A
You heard it here.
little bit. No, speaking of that, just as a joke, we had a little incident well, I call it an incident. Me and my first wife were still dating, and we went to the bedroom and said, "Okay, everybody, we'll see you in a little while." We went to the bedroom and came back 4 hours later. One of our friends looked at us and said, "Where you guys been?" "Oh, we just went and had a quickie." She's like, "Had a quickie? You've been gone for 4 hours." I was like, "Yeah."
I don't know how most non-pagan people have sex. I always like worry about them because I say, are you trying to like get it over with? You know, are you not in your body at the time? Because you do it because it feels good. You have sex because it feels good. And this is the one time that you're feeling good and you want it over in like 5 minutes or 10 minutes or less.
And I'll call my boss and tell him, "Hey, look, I'm late. I got a flat tire." When in reality, there ain't nothing flat going on about me at the moment. But I've done that before.
It makes me laugh. Thank you, Clint, for being such a fun person to have on.
It's what I do, man. And no, I am not on meth, although I am crazy. But yeah, we instead I ended up just going on ahead and training for a little bit with my axe instead of doing some forging. So yeah, I just got off of training myself. I'm about to have to raise up how long I train because I'm starting to get used to it. And with that body armor on, you sweat a lot.
See, that's the kind of life I would dream about. I would dream about just the ability to have a secure place where you can use your body as it's meant to. Your body is meant to swing an axe. Your body isn't meant to sit down in a chair. Your body isn't meant to watch television and turn your brain off. Your body isn't meant for that. Your body is meant to be in motion at all times.
Oh yeah, I agree with you there. I 100% agree with you there. I'm trying to find something to unclog my pipe. Hong Kong ring ting sucky sucky fucky fucky lovey 1 ton long time. All right, Don, that was good. That was good. And if you're thinking naughty, that's still good. But
I'm not thinking naughty. It's I am backed up, but because I have a special gift for myself, I'm thinking about doing new things with my channel. So I'm going to do a sex toy review. So I have a sex toy coming today. I'm not going to use it directly on YouTube, but I will talk about whether or not
well,
it's.
no, that would make it OnlyFans.
I try to go for OnlyFans, and I don't know. They think I'm too prissy for OnlyFans, or I'm just too ugly for OnlyFans, and that is the most depressing thing ever because they didn't tell me either way. So I don't know if they were saying, "No, honey, you're too beautiful and too good and innocent for OnlyFans." I'm like, I literally am a dom. Like, I should be on OnlyFans, but they said no, it's not for you. They
Yeah.
wouldn't tell me why though. They wouldn't tell me why. It's just like, could you tell me no? Tell me I'm ugly too. Make me cry over it. But
Yeah.
you didn't tell me anything. You just said what? He's backed up. I can fix that, mate.
Yeah, maybe it's packed just a little too tight, bro.
Some of those costumes that I wear for my, I'm doing a, okay, maybe you didn't get that part in the last podcast, but part of my working out is I'm considering it a venom challenge because I'm trying to grow my body from being a Brazilian twink into a giant muscle bear within the days.
Good luck.
Yeah, I know. I really have to pull all the tricks out if I'm going to be able to pull that one.
Peanut butter. Peanut butter will help you bulk up. It's mostly protein. So that's a good thing to use. Peanut butter, fish, and chicken.
Fish and chicken is kind of expensive for me right now, and I eat
Yeah.
vegan. I love meat, but meat is expensive. It's another way of what we said last time. The lords and rulers of the nation would segregate the entire forest and say the lands which you would hunt and provide food for your family, those belong to other people. Those belong to other farms. And therefore, you can never truly have enough meat for yourself. Because if you did
Hmm.
have your own dairy farm, you could potentially, with buying, selling, trading, whatever, have a steady, stable ecosystem where you have meat.
Yep.
Americans gave up that right. They gave up the right to have their own meat. And this is the reason why I have you on my podcast. Sometimes we joke, but I also want to talk about the truth of life. You
Go
need
right on ahead,
to
brother.
have your own source of food because we keep depending on these groceries, we keep depending on jobs. Is They give you money to get food instead of you having food and you need money for other things. Like maybe you want to take your money and spend it on college credit. Is that a less valuable thing than a KFC bucket of chicken? No, I think in America we should have the ability to have both.
Yeah.
How's a Dom wearing a ready leash catch? Boy getting yanked from the back respectfully.
What I want to know is how he knows what it is.
Thank you.
I want to know how you know what
I
it's
wasn't
used for,
going
bro.
to respond to what he said. because I said this is the test of whether or not the BDSM community likes my channel. The answer, right in front of me. Yes.
Well,
Yes.
you really want to freak them out. I should just go on ahead and don on the breastplate.
How long would it take you to do that?
Couple seconds.
I could babble for like
Couple seconds.
I could babble for 3 minutes. Go ahead. You know BDSM? Okay. Well, welcome to my channel. I will be choosing different outfits over the time period that I will be here. So this is just from an
Shut back up from the stand, baby. And that's why I broke it in.
Look how great you look in that. How do you feel? How do you feel when you wear that, Clint?
Actually, it feels really comfortable. It's almost like having a permanent hug, because it's tight around the waist, but it's a little loose around the chest area so it can move and everything. You can have movement with your arms. And quite frankly, it makes me feel closer to my ancestry. It makes me feel closer to the people that I come from, because even the farmer in Scandinavian and Nordic places, even the common peasant folk, they had chainmail and armor in case somebody attacked. They might have only had farming tools and maybe a sax, probably an axe to use, more than likely an axe, because almost every one of them had an axe. But it was because a wood cutting tool was also a really good killing tool. We found that out real quick. And they almost all had a way of defending themselves. So wearing this armor, it's like stepping back in time and joining my ancestors for a minute, and it gives me a sense of pride.
You should have pride in it. I mean, you look great in it, and also you have a way of at least mentally preparing yourself to leave your safe place, to go out into the world, which is a dangerous place. So even though your body armor isn't Kevlar, it's still something that makes you mentally aware of what is going on in the world. So you at least are looking with different eyes than someone who says, I'm just going to wear a t shirt and jeans because what could happen here?
Yeah, I know, right? I've been attacked multiple times just for being who I am, and I'm straight. But because I'm crazy and I'm straight and I'm white, I've been attacked a few times, guys, just for that reason. And you throw pagan into the mix when you live in the Bible Belt, and ooh, you're a target. It doesn't matter who you are at that point. And I've been on the receiving end of some bullcrap. I've been stabbed 13 times. So it's wearing stuff like this, wearing my chainmail when I get it in, because I'm going to be getting a chainmail shirt in probably not this month, but maybe next month. So I'll have my chainmail, and then all I need is my tassets, which is the leg guards, and my bracers and my shin guards, and I'm done with my armor. And then I'll actually feel probably the most comfortable I have in a long time. And it's because I finally get to express myself.
Necklace is Milner.
What about the necklace?
Milner?
Yeah, my Mjolnir. I love it. I fixed the leather strap on it. Actually, I had to take and braid a new one.
You
The
know
old
how
one broke. I braided that.
it looks nice.
Yeah. I worked my butt off on teaching myself, but I practice all the time. This is just some cord that I braided together. Just some nylon cord, so I can make it stronger, make lanyards for walking staffs.
It's same rope technique.
I know a little bit of that. I know a little bit of that.
I wanted to ask you because you mentioned, being a pagan in the South. How is it for you? Because I think underneath all of the religious overtones of the South, they're closer to paganism than most people realize. They are the first people to go mudding. They're the first people to throw bacchanals, giant parties where the beer is flowing, the wine is flowing. You know,
Barbecues.
barbecues, like that's the kind of communal life that a pagan would mostly do, not someone who's a proper Christian. I mean, they're more Victorian, austere, and just stuck up. So why don't most people in your area consider themselves to be pagan? Because what they're doing is actually pagan.
Pagan. Yeah, I totally understand that. You don't know how many times I've explained to somebody that Christianity is filled with so much neo paganism, it's not even funny. And it's not even just neo paganism, it's filled with a lot of old world paganism. Because Easter is a pagan celebration that they turned into a Christian celebration so that they could convert, pagan people. Yule was a Nordic celebration that was literally meant for the celebration of the solstice, the passing of winter. You made it through another year of winter. And that's where the exchange of gifts come from and everything, because you would go around to the poor people in your villages and you would give them coal and food, just whatever you could spare. And that's where we get, the gifts from. And the tree was supposed to represent Yggdrasil, and the lights on it, there were supposed to be 9 candles that were placed on every Nordic Yule tree, and those 9 candles represented the 9 realms. And I've explained to people so much that there's so much paganism in modern Christianity that it's not even funny. In fact, I've found a couple of books that I haven't actually read from the Bible yet. One of which is the Sophia of Christ. Because, yes, I'm a pagan, but I study other religions. And my family is all Christian. So I need to keep up with it. And in the Sophia of Christ, it explains that the God that most of us serve is not the God that we were meant to serve as in Christianity. His name is Yahweh, and he's technically a demon, but he's taken the place of God. And Jesus warned about that in the Sophia of Christ. And I thought that was very interesting because I've always felt that this Bible that people walk around with and try to slap me in the face with all the time I turn around, it's not written by a good and just God. If it literally tells people to use pagan symbolism and hate on pagans at the same go, I'm not down for that. And it's simply because a lot of decent folk around here don't want to go pagan, especially not Norse pagan, because a lot of the white power supremacists down here use paganism, and they use Norse paganism as their main thing. And it unfortunately gives people like me a bad reputation. So I get attacked for being racist all the time, and I'm like, it's just a religion. I do you see swastikas anywhere on me? I mean, I have one tattoo.
Checked everywhere.
I have one tattoo, and I did that myself. You know,
Check yourself.
yeah.
We believe you.
But I
Comments, y'all look like characters in the same movie in the best way. That's very nice.
nice. Thank you.
And honestly, you should have on your channel, more blacksmithing and like an armor check-in. Just talk about like all aspects of it. You
Oh
should have
yeah,
that on your channel.
I am actually working on that. I got a third bottle, and because you see, I only had 2 bottles of propane because I have a propane forge, and these little bitty bottles they don't last long. So and it's going to cost me $60 to replace all 3. And I still got to buy stuff to repair my RV with. So I'm looking at being completely broke this month and might not even be able to forge because first off, I got to fix it. And then second off, I got to be able to buy more propane. And man, getting started is the hardest part about doing this. Not only my charity, but doing this blacksmithing thing and this handcrafted business, because you've got to you're doing everything by yourself. You got to get everything done. You got yourself deadlines, and you got so much work to complete on one project, especially if it's a knife that takes a long time. And it's not only is the forging process a long while, but slapping a good handle on it and everything like that, that takes, preparation, looking for the proper materials and all that jazz. And then you got to shave it down right. And you got to make sure you shave it down right the first time, because you mess up, you can't put another handle on it without breaking the first. And if you got epoxy on there, that's a horrible way to go. But I'm just, like you said earlier, I need new tech. I need better tech, and I'm working on trying to get what I need for the better tech. It's just I can only do it 1 month at a time while trying to fix an RV while trying to save up for property. And yes, I am totally down to move to Sweden at any time.
That should be your number one priority there. And for me, I keep complaining every single time, and you're very, very kind to at least say you'll rescue me. At least say it, because that's a nice thing to hear. But it's rescue you and then go to where? Because America is losing its value when we allow
Hmm.
domestic terrorism events, when we allow racial divide, when we allow our own people to be starving or malnourished in any way. We either have to restore the value to America or seek residence somewhere else where we know
Yeah,
people are being treated properly.
and you see, my idea, like I said, is to go to Sweden, because first off, I have Swedish ancestry, so I don't have to have somebody sponsor me. And second off, I have a friend that is already willing to sponsor me in Sweden, and they have the best healthcare in the world. It's
Hmm.
100% free. Yeah, you pay 80% of your paycheck in taxes, but you got your house covered, you got your lights covered, you got your water covered, you got your medical covered. Everything is taken care of. All you got to do is just take the money that you have and live your life. You know, and there's even Viking villages that still live the way they did in the 12th, 9th to 12th century. And that's where I'm going. I'm going there to become a blacksmith, because if I go there in the mountains of Sweden, wake up every day to a nice big forest, I can hunt and fish all I want to live, I can grow all my own food. I'm down.
Okay. Some of the comments are a little heated in the audience here, but I'm just going to settle it. We will treat each other with respect here at all times.
That is something we do prefer here, guys, because, like, for instance, in case y'all didn't know it, because I know a lot of y'all are sitting here calling me queer and everything like that. Guys, I'm straight as a post. I'm absolutely 100% straight. I just have a different way of living than most straight folks do. I identify with, not as a different race or nothing. I identify with people who are willing to show themselves and reveal who they really are, no matter the cost. You know, that's because, in my opinion, you be who you are, no matter what anybody says. And the reason being is because who you are has got an inner light to it, no matter who or what you do, unless you're somebody like Hitler or Jeffrey Dahmer. But that's just a given. If you're a normal, good, decent person, there's a light that shines within you, and you've got to let that be revealed. You've got to feed it. You've got to make it stronger. And I see these kind of lights in a lot of people, especially my friend Ian here. He's very kind. He's trying to help the world. He's trying to help his country, but they just kind of dogging him at every turn. But respect, honor, truth, and kindness and hospitality are something that is missing in this world. And the fact that y'all are sitting here in this chat doing exactly that, being some of y'all are being honest, some of y'all are being respectful, some of y'all are being hospitable. That's very much a thank you. To those of y'all who aren't, guys, guess who's the actual problem? Sorry about that, Ian.
No, no, I always like to hear your perspective on it. I always encourage free speech, even when it is mean or somewhat jarring to hear and offensive to me. Sometimes I have to say, at least this person has the courage to speak up. Because in America, people go silent because there's a lot of intimidation. I'm a musician. How many musicians survive to the next year? It is a terrible business when all you can do is speak your mind with the fear of some sort of retribution for speaking your mind.
And there's a deplorable trend that's been going on for years, which is white folks can't say nothing. We have to keep our mouth shut. I remember growing up, don't say that. You can't say that. You're white. You know, you'll get in trouble, boy. You'll get them pissed off at you. And I'm just like, but I'm only saying it how it is. Like I was talking about all at that point in time, I was talking about all the people my sister was bringing home who was all ghetto. It didn't matter if they were white, black, or brown. They were ghetto as hell. And if you watch any videos about people from the ghetto, there's 1% of them that are decent folk. The rest of them are going batshit. They're losing their minds. And she would bring these people home. And nah, ghetto culture out my door. But that's just because I don't like the emphasis on criminal culture that they produce. I don't like the emphasis on, you know, treating women with disrespect, on women disrespecting themselves. The hate speech that's just thrown around in in these cultures. I'm not afraid to speak up about it and tell people that, hey, wake up. The whites are saying it's the whites are sitting here confused. The blacks are saying it's the whites. The whites are sitting here going, what's going on? The brown folks are sitting there saying it's both of y'all. Guys, no. You know who it is? It's the ones with power. It's the ones who rule this world, not this country, this world. you know, and they set this crap up to keep people segregated, to keep you from being able to rise up and have a good existence, to keep you from being able to see that there is a better life, there is an easier way to live. There is something called honor. There is something called hospitality. And these things are essential to being a decent human being, and if you have honor, everything else will fall into place, because if you are an honorable person, you're automatically going to be a decent person because you're going to turn around, you're going to tell the truth, you're going to do things right, you're going to follow the law, you're going to be hospitable, and you're just going to be a kind person until somebody pushes you, and there's a lot of people that are trying to push right now when instead of pushing, they should be going, all right, let's sit and talk.
I'm
But they
glad
won't.
I'm glad I have you here because I've been having this conversation on my channel for a while now about the ghetto. The whole idea that you have a homogenized little zone. And in some cases, well, white people become more white, and then the people who are of color, they do their own thing as well. And some of them they stay true to their native roots, they stay true to their indigenous practices, and they live healthy lives because of it. I think
Exactly.
about how in Latino communities, while people are playing Xbox, most of us are playing football, soccer in the park.
Hmm.
And because we're, staying true to ourselves, that's a good thing.
Or
And
working in a community garden.
that's a great thing that you can do when you have a community that feels a sense of belonging. But when you think that it's a sense of belonging in a poor neighborhood, I think that there's an issue there because these people don't realize that exactly, they're just corralled themselves into a smoked den, a den of high quality, high density pollution. And
Yep.
they're too poor to understand what it means to say you are in a gas chamber that the government designed for you, but because
I'm
you're not
glad you caught
Jewish,
that reference when I did it, by the way.
yeah, but because you're not Jewish, you don't think of yourself as a victim here. Most people who are Hispanic don't know what it means to say clean air is a good thing. They smell the meat from the food trucks, the propane tanks that are going on all day, and they think there's nothing wrong with it. They don't think the classic cars that they own, and many of them, they save up their money, they spend their weekends working on classic cars that don't have EPA regulations on them. They think it's a good thing. And that's the ghetto. That's the ghetto that you didn't like, and that's the ghetto I don't like as a person of color.
Yeah.
Because you can't have a conversation with people like that and say, I know you have pride in your culture, in your community, but your culture and community is sometimes affecting your health.
Yeah.
In the right way, go enjoy your body, be athletic. The wrong way, back your car into somebody's face. Not hit them, but literally just the amount of smog from people idling in their car, sitting down, they're on their phone, and they just leave the engine running. You're gassing the kids in your neighborhood. Do you not
Yeah.
understand that that's an issue? But they're too poor to understand because all they can think about is where's the food coming from? Who's going to pay the rent? That's what it means to be poor. It's not just a white person oppressing you, it's you oppressed yourself by not asking any questions.
It's literally the oppression is not being felt to just one race. The oppression is being felt by everybody. Guys, I am a poverty line white straight American. I get $374 a month is what I get for my schizophrenia. And I'm trying to start a business on that. I'm trying to get back on my feet and get out from underneath disability because I I feel it is another form of oppression because you cannot work because the state says you can't. And that's not cool. Because if I can sit here and I can be like, look, I could perform at least three-quarters of the tasks everybody else can. So what if I can't do math? Because I'm doesn't mean I can't do the rest of the work. I'm a wrench turner. I'm a hammer swinger. That's what I do. I'm the helper. But now I can't do that because I have seizures and I see shit. I've been taking as long as I take my medication, I'm good. But the state of Texas says no. The US government says no, you can't. You're blacklisted. You can't do it. You're too much of a liability. We will not let you work in any business. So I was like, screw you. I'm going to make my own. And if you look at anyone who's ever made it that lived in the ghetto, like here's examples I used the other day. Straight out of Compton, Dr. Dre, Ice Cube, Ice T. Let's see who else. Snoop Dogg, Easy E. All these guys worked their butts to the bone to get where they are now. And what was the first thing that they did? They left the ghetto. And then they started singing about not being in the ghetto. They started singing about don't act that way, because they were ashamed. Why do you think Ice-T literally plays a cop in every single show he's in? Because he feels bad for the song Fuck the Police. He feels bad for the way he acted when he was younger. I saw an interview with him where he mentioned that. He feels some remorse for the way he was in his childhood. And these people are claiming, systemic racism. Guys, if there was systemic racism, then Snoop Dogg would have never made it out of Compton. Eazy-E would have never made it out of Compton. Dr. Dre would have never made it out of Compton. The only one who would have made it out of their entire group would have been Eminem, if there was really such a thing as white pride. I mean, not white pride. If there was really such a thing as white privilege, then he would have been the only one to make it out. The rest of them would have stayed underground rappers. But no, they made big.
I'm going to say something controversial. I think Eminem might actually be the better rapper.
Fair enough. He was the protege brought in by Dr. Dre and was taught by all these guys.
Exactly.
So when you have teachers,
generational thing, it took that many teachers honing the craft and everything. So by the time it got to the Slim Shady, got to Eminem, he had so much knowledge behind him. Of course, he's the greatest now. Because everyone else had to be great before him. And that's the important thing to say. When you see something like white rappers, you should be saying great, because that means that there were that many black rappers that were amazing for this white rapper to learn how to do that properly. Because those people used to do flighting. They used to do that. They used to rap. They had battles.
They had poem contests. They would say sonnets and poems, and try to make them rhyme in such a way that the other person couldn't beat it. So yeah, they rapped. It was just in a different manner. Kind of like the Chinese or the Japanese used to do with haikus. They used to have haiku tournaments.
A haiku is literally a rap battle.
Yeah, it was literally short little rap battles to see who could beat out the other person. And rap is not just a strictly Black American thing. It's all over the place. K-pop, half of that is rap. When you actually listen to their lyrics, yeah, it's catchy as hell. I mean, even I gotta admit, and I'm a metalhead. I'll turn around and I'll listen to Beast in Black or Battle Beast or Nightwish or High Lung or anything like that any day. But some of these K-pop songs, I'm sitting there going, this stupid thing is still stuck in my head. Why? It's kind of like Ava Max. She's got some songs. I'm not a pop culture fan, but she's got some songs that stick in my damn head. And I can't get them out unless I listen to them. One of them is that Choose Your Fighter. I like that song. I like the message behind it. You can be whatever you want to be. Choose who you want to be. And to hell with the rest of the world. Be your own fighter. I like the message behind it. And it's just like I do believe that women might be a little bit better in power because they're a little bit more caring than what men are. I mean, look at Queen Elizabeth, the longest running monarch in history, and everybody loved her. Everybody, even outside of Britain, they loved Queen Elizabeth. And I really do think women in power, positions of power would actually be a good thing. The only thing I think is that they don't need to have an agenda when they come in other than I want to take care of my country, because that was the entire 80 something years or however many years that Queen Elizabeth was in office. That was literally what She did. She cared more about her country than she did about her image. She cared more about her country than she did about an agenda. You know, if she had an agenda, but it wasn't best for Britain or England, it wasn't happening. You know, and that was
That's the
that's one of the reasons I respect that woman.
you feel that people like that understood the truth. You still live here. You still live here with these people, no matter how rich you get. And I say this, with a slight disdain for celebrities and people who leave their communities. No matter how rich you become, if everyone behind you is poor, you did something wrong. If they are uneducated now that you've left and you're no longer around to teach them anything, then there's no.
What did you do in the first place? What did you do in the first place then? If you did not, if you have one job and you can't fulfill it, you don't need that job.
Do celebrities understand that that's their job as well? I mean, sure, it's your job to be an actor and say the lines in the movie, but there's more to it than that.
A lot more.
You can't just be a hero in tights. You have to be a hero in everything. And a lot of them have charities. A lot of them do, but they don't get political sometimes. They just say go out and vote, and they leave it at that. They don't say, okay, well, here's a petition that I signed, and I want you to sign it too. Most celebrities don't do that because it's scary to put yourself out there. But these people
Yeah,
need rescuing. You need to rescue your fans because look, they gotta pay for your mansion, and if things go down and they have to choose, that's one less fan for you. So if you've
exactly.
got a fiscal responsibility, take care of your damn fans.
Well, that's like this whole Rachel Ziegler going on right now. Have you heard everything about that?
No, no, no. I
Oh my God, did that little girl screw everything about herself? Oh my God. She threw so much political agenda into Snow White when all she had to do was go on there and do a great acting job. That was her one job. Go on there and be the best Snow White she could be. You
mm,
know, Jack Black even told her this, and he put her in therapy when he was done talking to her. But he told her the difference between me and you is you step on the stage thinking you're the best. I step on the stage thinking this movie's gonna be the best I've ever made every time. Why do you think Jack Black grosses billions in every film? Because he puts his whole heart and soul into it. This girl put only her political agenda into it and got mad when it didn't work. You know, when she insulted one of the most beloved child stories from around the world, not just here in America, around the world. Walt Disney brought Snow White everywhere. And when she took that role, she was taking on a pair of shoes that were 10 miles wide. That's a saying we have down here in Southeast Texas, which basically means she couldn't fill it. She was going to have to make the role her own, but she did it in such a way that she screwed it over so badly that Disney is removing it from Disney Plus. They're no longer showing the film. They're no longer releasing the DVD. They're not releasing any toy line. They're suing her for $120 million for lost funds.
mhm.
And she had to run away to England. She ran away to England, tried to join a West Side Story play. She was still so insufferable that the play got canceled because of her. So everything, and then she's coming online and she's blasting her fans for it. She's
Mm.
coming on here and calling us all MFers and saying that we just don't know real acting and that we're all misogynistic and blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. And all I hear is wham, wham, wham. I'm a millennial and I got my butt whooped, you know, because she lost everything. She lost her modeling career. She lost her any acting career she would ever have. Gone. Everything down the toilet because of her attitude. And that's one thing that you mentioning taking care of your fans. She did not take care of her fans. She did not cater to her fans, and she suffered for it. She's still suffering for it. I mean, $120 million. That's basically all she had left. So now she's a normal, everyday, average person, but she's stuck in London. She's stuck in London. And guys, that should show you attitude is everything. When you walk into a movie set and you're the star, don't let it go to your head. Don't be a Rachel Ziegler. If you're the star in any situation, even your own wedding, don't be a Rachel Ziegler, because everybody gonna get up and leave. Instead, think about your guests. Think about how can I be the best entertainer I've ever been, and you'll be talked about forever. She's gonna be talked about forever for the wrong reason, though.
Oh, I imagine so. If I
may. Go ahead.
Snow White has always been in that princess era, that specific era of we want to teach little girls that you will be royalty, you will be treated with respect, but you will forever have your destiny handcuffed to a man. That you have no real power, that nobody wants to hear what your voice is and things. Jasmine, you froze.
I don't know if his phone died or he froze.
Oh, okay.
I think he froze.
I was trying to say that Snow White.
Dang, because I was getting into that conversation, guys.
Snow White came from the princess era.
Let me see if I could do something.
All right. The fact that we look similar is a little odd. We really do look similar. Either way, hopefully he comes back. While that happens, take a little snapshot of that because that's amazing. Is he back yet?
I'm back.
Okay, great.
I had to yeah, I can hear you just fine. I had to refresh my screen. For some reason, it froze on me. So, yeah, I had to go back and then go back to your email and then all that mess. But, yeah, it totally froze on me. So what were you saying, brother?
I was talking about how Snow White is from the princess era. So it was the time period where women were given this archetype of royalty. You'll be in enchanted balls, you'll meet a prince, you'll wear fabulous clothes, and you'll have no real power, you'll have no real voice. And when they look at you, they'll just see beauty but not intelligence. And they've changed that over the years. Disney has worked very, very hard to change that narrative. Mulan was not the same person as Snow White. Snow
No.
White was, let's just say it, a white girl who grew up in a white world. Mulan grew up in an Asian world, and her story is one of my favorite. Mulan has always been my favorite, not just because Christina Aguilera in that song, but it's always been my favorite because this was a woman who said, yeah, I like being a girl. I absolutely love being a girl, but I wouldn't want my father to die on a battlefield. If I can save him, I will do what it takes. I'll cut my hair and I'll put on his armor and I will fight. I will fight against the Huns. and
Hmm.
a beautiful story of self-sacrifice, bravery, and yes, a transgender person for that moment. Because in that time period,
Transgender done right.
it didn't exactly come out your mouth that you were transgender, but for her to do that story, she's a transgender person. And then we say in America that transgender people can't be soldiers, they can't be sailors, they can't be Marines. What is more honorable? What is more American than saying, I have my own way of thinking about myself, my body, and whatever, but if danger happens, if there is something there, I am a fighter. I am a hero. And then you look at something like Snow White and Rachel. I want to meet her because I want to interview her because that conversation that she's trying to have is, I'm doing this movie to pretty much break this movie, break it forever, because girls have always had it in their heads that if you're pretty, if you're popular, if you're a fucking slut, that's more important than being smart, more important than loving yourself. And it's not just girls who get affected by that, men do all the time. Why don't you just shoot some hoops instead of picking up a book and, learning blacksmithing? The new show that they have, Ironheart, I want to support so badly. I don't have a lot of money, but I want to support it somehow because it shows the struggle of Tony Stark had his Stark family, had his Stark money to start his
Eh,
company, to
And
become a
Ironheart does it in a garage.
Ironheart had to do it in a garage with scraps, but she still tries. She still tries. She's trying to be an intelligent person of color, making a difference in this world. And that's not the same girl who would be Snow White. So when Rachel breaks this film and Disney says, you know what, we're gonna hide this film away and everything, it's the worst thing. It's like, Disney, just admit it. Admit that you wanted to break this film because you realize no one wants to be that girl. No one wants to be that girl anymore because now women are waking up and they're saying, fuck that nonsense of this girl needs a man to bring her back to life. No, she needs to wake herself up and say, I don't trust grannies who bring me apples.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't trust
like,
weird old ladies walking up to your door with a green apple.
really, you can talk about the feminist attitude. Is just like, what feminist says you should trust any woman. You should trust yourself. If you have good judgment, I think that's more important than being a princess sometimes. But
Oh, yeah.
uh, that's not what people wanted. People wanted to see princess era again because it makes them feel safe and nostalgic. But that's the wrong message. It's hurting us to have that message broadcast at all times. You should think of yourself as royalty, but you should think of yourself as royalty as a ruler, not just as a chair with jewels on it. Not
And you see, I agree with you there. I do agree that maybe the narrative needs to change a little bit. But the person they chose and her attitude, that's
yes,
what killed it. That's just what killed it. Because you can have the greatest actor in the world, but if he's got a bad attitude and nobody wants to work with him, then you're never going to get a job. You're never going to get a part. And the way she approached it was she found it creepy and weird that the prince falls in love with Snow White as soon as he sees her, and she falls in love with him as soon as she sees him. So it's a mutual thing. That's why it was called True Love's First Kiss. And when Rachel Ziegler did the show, She didn't find it creepy that Snow White lived with 7 short little bearded men.
Hmm.
Just the prince. I know you'd enjoy it.
Tag me in, bro.
I know you'd enjoy it. Go ahead.
Okay, so Rachel is living in the now. She's living in the now, and I want to meet her and just have this conversation with her because what she was trying to say without saying it is when you're a woman or you're a beautiful person, you'll have people come up to you and tell you that you're beautiful. And you have sometimes low self esteem, and you'll say, well, come right into my life, come right into my house, come right into my bedroom, come into my wallet. Go on, tell me what to do. You told me I was beautiful one time. And for that, you get to tell me what I do and say for the rest of my life. And there's a whole channel, the Lifetime channel, about my husband murdered me. My husband beat me. My husband won't let me leave the house. And it always starts the same exact way. He was such a nice guy. He was the sweetest guy. He pulled out the chair. Oh, he made me feel like I was the special only one. Men who beat their wives probably have 10 other girlfriends who he also beats. So, yeah, it is creepy when someone says that they love you the minute that they see you because now you have to say, well, did they just pretend to love you? Do you really know this person? Do you know how they will treat you 10 years down the road? Have you been a good friend to this person? Because if you say that you love them, you should know them. You
Yeah.
say, I am going to support this girl in this specific case because that Snow White thing is not working for us anymore. It used to. At the time of that movie, it used to be that way, but now men are getting worse, and women are in abusive
Mm,
relationships because
I'm
they say,
gonna I'm
"Love
gonna correct you there.
gave me a compliment."
I'm gonna correct you there a little bit. All right. Um, I've actually looked up these statistics. So, believe it or not, about 65% of violent cases, domestic violence cases, that actually go down in America
Mm.
are actually the woman abusing the husband now. It's been that way for 5 years. Not only that, but to sit there to think that a woman is incapable of abusing a man is a dumb thing. And the reason being is because when us men are in love with somebody, especially us straight guys that are real serious about it, we'll take a bunch of crap. Like, we'll take a bunch of crap, and it's very unfortunate because we'll eventually have enough of it one day. Because I know I had an ex that decided she was going to grab a beer bottle and throw it at my head just because I told her no. And then I told her, get the hell out of my house. You
Good for
know,
you.
yeah, straight up kicked her out the house. When she wouldn't leave, I threw her out in nothing but her underwear. So if that seems abusive on my part, guys, if that bottle would have hit me in the head, it would have sent me into a grand mal seizure, which could have killed me. No, this girl has an arm on her. She played softball. So when she reared back and hurled that sucker, I was like, nope. I ain't getting hit by that. But we were also in a friend of mine's apartment, and she put the bottle in his wall. So I had to pay for his wall to be repaired. But women can be just as abusive as men can. In fact, most of the time, they're physically and verbally abusive. The ones that are. I'm not saying there's not good women out there, but I
Yeah,
am saying women nowadays. Yeah, and there's good men out there too, you know.
I'd love to
But
meet one. I'd love to meet one.
I'd like to meet a woman that's I mean, I'm still getting to know my Jin Jin. We've only been together for going on 6 months now, so I really can't say I know her yet.
We were talking about that. That's what that conversation earlier was about. you and Ginger, like, is she like right there next to you at this time? Yes.
Mm.
No? Okay. You're taking your time because of distance, because of several factors. And over that time, you get to have a conversation. You get to know them. You get to ask questions about what their views are in life.
Yeah.
You don't get that in a movie. You get bang, they bump into each other quite roughly sometimes. And then
Hmm.
within an hour and 30 minutes, there needs to be a wedding. And so the lesson women and men get, the men who watch this, they all get that message of, well, it's got to be the quickest thing possible, because if it's not the quickest thing possible, it's must not be. Like, you could
Yeah.
love a person and not know that you love them just because you just didn't take that extra month. And
And
that's
you
all
left
they
them.
do. One more conversation, and you would have told them that you love them.
Hmm.
But people want it now. They want love now.
And you see,
That is a bad thing in a cinema. It's bad in cinema to just say, we just give you love stories. And we don't say, are you happy? Because that should be important too.
yeah, and you see, I totally agree with you, man.
Hi, Jelly Moss.
My Yeah, hello, Jelly Moss. Thank you for being so kind. Um, I think I made a wrong turn. Sorry there, Dizo. I am Southeast Texas. I am back in the sticks. Yes, I am a total freaking swamp rat, but at least I'm an educated one. Yeah, my dad's not. Nope, nope. There's about as much intelligence there as a rock. Oh, thank you, Jamal. But yeah, so when it comes down to a lot of these modern women and the way they're acting, um, I've noticed this. I've watched a lot of videos from lesbians who said they've gone straight, because of the state women are doing nowadays. Like, be glad you gay. Because dealing with these women right now, oh boy, you know, um, about 8 out of 10 of them are psycho, and if they ain't psycho, then they baby trapping, and if they ain't baby trapping, then they trying to get child support. If they ain't doing that, they trying to gold dig, and it's like you said, we put this narrative in the little girls' heads that that's okay. Now, I'm going to get off of movies for a minute and get on to music, because our music is teaching our little girls to be whores. They're teaching our little girls to not respect themselves. They're teaching our little girls that being with somebody who might beat and abuse on you is just okay, you know, instead of being like, nah, you need to go out and find a real man. You need to go out and find a guy that has a 9 to 5 job, working his tail off, got all of his own stuff together, and is a good man, a community man. We don't teach that anymore. Not even in country music, which used to teach that all the time. But now it's all about partying and big butts, which, don't get me wrong, I like a big old booty, but it's all about shaking whatever you got. It's all about money. It's all about drugs. It's all about criminal activity. And these are songs that our kids are growing up on. Like, it blew my mind whenever my little niece, she was like 5 at the time, came in singing WAP and knew what it meant.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, you like 6? Who showed you this? My mama. What is wrong with you?
Clint, these little moments where the innocence is parted from young
Broken.
from children. It's a pivotal moment. It really is. Most parents, most educators, most people in the community, they don't have a conversation. They don't sit down with them and say, let's talk about what this means.
They don't. They're just
It's
sitting there going, "Oh,
empowerment.
it's cute. She's twerking." Sorry.
I like twerking.
I figured you would.
I do, I do. And also I I twerked this morning, and I was thinking about talking about it in the channel, and
Oh,
you
oh
bring it
my
up, and I was
God.
like, yes, finally, I get to say what I was going to say in my show. So the whole idea of twerking is ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous, but it has a purpose that I don't even think people of color realize. It's a grounding indigenous ritual of making sure you are in your body, to bring your spirit back into your body. Twerking is that. It's like when I talked about how cocaine used to be a holy sacrament. Twerking
Hmm.
was an indigenous practice of bringing your soul back into your body so that you can live in your body, realize that it feels good to be you. So a lot of people look at twerking and saying it's slutty, it's this, it's that. It's for a moment, you're the hottest person in the room. For a moment, you realize that your body is alive.
And you see, I can understand that,
Conversations no
but
one
we've
would
turned
ever say. No one ever says that because no one thinks that way. And no
no.
indigenous person thinks that way. I'm a Native American indigenous person. I think about these things, but I have no one really to talk to except for you. So at least you get to hear about my view on what twerking really means.
Well, the only thing I can say is I can't twerk and I won't twerk because I
I
have
get,
nuts
I get,
and they will slap back and forth and I will bust my balls.
I think people would pay good money to see you do at least one twerking video and post it on your channel.
And I would probably break my back in the process.
One twerking video. That's the challenge.
You know,
That's the challenge you have
you
in
know
front.
what? You know what? If I get monetized, I'll freaking do a twerking video.
Do you read the comments? Jelly Moss has said it. It's a tribal dance.
Yeah. I didn't see it, it just popped up on my screen. But I'll tell you this. You know, not there's a lot of tribal dances that have been turned into actual dances nowadays, like that whole shuffle dance. I can't remember the name of the tribe, but they're all over YouTube with these guys that can just dance and slide their feet all over the place and just looks like they're gliding everywhere and their feet are moving so dead gum fast you can't even see them. But that's the beginnings of the shuffle dance, you know, because these guys are literally sliding across the ground like it don't exist, like it's glass. And them dances are fascinating to watch because they're so fast and they're so quick. And I do enjoy studying other cultures so much. So that's why I didn't really see twerking as a problem. But a 5-year-old doing it, maybe they need to wait till they're older because in my mind, twerking and what I was taught was twerking is basically a mating call.
Um, may
Go ahead. I was done.
I? Two things. Obviously, your young niece, your young people shouldn't be really at that stage for that part of the conversation, but they should be able to feel the benefit of dancing and movement. I am a big proponent of kids taking dance lessons, kids taking martial arts, kids doing polo lessons. You know,
Or at least HEMA.
learn to be alive, because that is not what they teach in a school. They teach in a school math, science. They don't teach you how to be alive. They don't teach you that your body is valuable, and that's
Well, hell, they
unnecessary.
don't even teach you math anymore.
Well, not here.
No, I mean, I literally read an article and saw a couple of videos on this. Kids are so dumb in math and reading right now, they're taking it and turning it into an elective. Yeah. Math and reading. Math and reading, the things you learn in kindergarten, are now electives.
I'm sorry, you're crying, Jelly Moss. Why are you crying?
Oh, that's crying face and then laughing.
Oh, okay.
We had them dying laughing about the whole twerking thing.
Oh, yeah. So what I was trying to say is, as you get older in life, you have less opportunities to dance and move. You get moved to a job where you sit in an office. No one's going to tell you, "Do you know how to do the hokey pokey?" Because the
And
hokey
is it
pokey
really what it's all about?
is a little something different. Um, that 5 seconds, 5 minutes of just, getting up and shaking your leg in, shaking your leg out, shaking your arm in, and twist it all about. It's silly, it's fun, but the main lesson is, aren't you alive? Isn't that
Hmm.
body was amazing? Don't you want to live? And somehow we lose that because people tell you, "Oh, you're still dancing? Oh, you dance awfully. You can never dance again." And people say, "Fuck it, I'll never dance again." But then they never feel alive again. They never learn what it means. You're a pagan, I'm a pagan. If you hear those tribal drums and you don't start moving your chest and like start,
Yeah.
the
I
moving,
started.
rising towards the sky. That is who we are as people. This is what America misses out on. This is what America misses out on when it puts down something like twerking without having a college
Knowledge of what it is.
tell them a Professor X. They should have a Professor X, and that Professor X should be on YouTube explaining these kinds of things so that Black people, white people, Hispanic, Asians, Christians, pagans, everyone knows the truth about what it means to be alive. Twerking is not just about getting a guy to buy you a drink. It's about, well, don't you feel good with your body? If you are 170 pounds as a woman and you're fat, but when you move in that twerking way, all the men are saying, "Yeah, I do that at the club and I take that." And then, great, you feel good about yourself for that one moment. Because maybe you're not the type to say, "I'll go to the gym." But guess what? If you are dancing, twerking in a club, isn't that exercise?
Yeah, you burning some calories then.
And after
But
that,
give me just a second to answer Jelly Moss here. There's a moment in the movie Sinners where they showed tribal dancing and all the dancers started to synchronize together. Dancing does make you feel good. I agree with you, Jelly. And I'm a white boy. I can't dance. I'll admit that. I can do a little wiggle thing, and that's about it. Just but that's about the best I could do. And it's because I've ruined my knees. But when it comes down to that movie Sinners, that was a really great movie. It really did show a lot of good tribalesque root systems and everything like that, especially the Haitian culture. And I really did enjoy that film. That was a really good movie. I watched it here on YouTube the other day for free, so I didn't have to pay for it. But I do enjoy that movie for sure. and dancing is not only a way of, because like you said, I hear drums going, and it doesn't matter if it's Viking pagan, if it's a band that I listen to called Omnia, or which is neo pagan, or just any form of tribal drums. It gets my heart pumping. It gets my blood flowing. It gets me ready to go to either train or to face the day. Every morning I wake up and I listen to this band called Hylung. They're a traditional Viking band. They sing a lot of Norse music, and when their song Krindeskalder is one of my favorite songs. Huh?
Someone send that one to me.
You want me to send that one to you? I'll send it to you. Yeah, Krindeskalder is a war chant, getting you ready for the day. The women would lament it to the men as they were heading out to sail, to go raiding. And there's another one that you'll probably really like too. That's called Helvingan by Hailong and or by Wardruna, excuse me. But that is a funeral march, and that is one of the prettiest songs I've ever heard. And one of the great things about these two bands that I've mentioned, Wardruna and Hailung, is they use the traditional instruments. There's no guitar, there's no lute, there's nothing like what you would expect that we always see in all these Norse culture videos and stuff like that. There's not some guy sitting over there do. No, that's not happening. There's guys standing in the background in war paint slamming spears into the ground for the beat. There's an old man that's a Gothi, that's a Viking priest. His granddaughter is a Gothia. She's the lead singer. And that old man gets down with nothing more than a shield and a drum, and the music, it gets my blood flowing. It literally gets me ready for anything. And if I don't listen to it first thing in the morning, I listen to it before I go forage or I go train. And it's 8 minute long song, but it's absolutely gorgeous in my opinion, and 100% tribal.
That's
So
cool to hear that you feel that way. That's how people of color feel, and obviously Caucasians who listen to rap music with a good decent beat. It taps into the tribal part of their body that they ignore when they have to wear a suit and tie, or wear high heels and stuff like that. But it
or be
taps
bogged down in an office all day.
being bogged down in an office that is damaging your health, that is making you work long hours, so you never actually you talked about that mating call earlier. When are you supposed to put that out? Because by the time you become an adult, and you have already been trained to just sit down and accept that the world is unfair, that you can't have the Prince of Charming that you've always wanted, then when are you going to, put out your feelers and say, I feel attractive right now? And when you do that twerking dance in a bar, a club, where adults are, you are actually, realizing for at least a moment, I'm a beautiful person. I'm alive and I'm a beautiful person, and I want to be loved. I want attention. I want to be loved. And there's nothing wrong with that from that perspective.
No, there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. And even if it wasn't a tribal dance and it was literally just a women trying to attract a man, that
Mhm.
still turns it into a tribal dance.
Mhm.
That still turns it into a ritualistic process, which is what a tribal dance is. It's a ritual every time. And if you're sitting there bouncing your booty up and down because it means that you're better in bed, then
Wouldn't you like to know? Wouldn't you like
that
to know?
I would like to know if she got a little jiggle to the wiggle. Yes, I would. I'd like to know if she got a little Marilyn Monroe round.
Beautiful little things, but they lie like a cold fish in the bed. They don't know what to fucking do.
No, they don't.
Who's
Yeah,
there?
I mean, good God.
You have a great wedding photo, but a boring marital bed. Who would want that?
You're, and that was my second wife. All right, like that was just the worst sexual experiences of my life, and except for whenever she decided, hey, look, I want to try a threesome, but I want to do two dudes and me. You and another guy and me. I said, well, okay, but realize if that happens, I get a chick. And the threesome we had was with the other chick was probably the best sex I had, and it wasn't because of my ex-wife.
Yeah. At least
That's the sad part. That was the sad part.
you
But
want to be able to enjoy life, and people talk about being rich all the time. They don't talk about being happy. And sometimes
yeah,
it's exactly the same thing. I don't think people are happy when they're not able to laugh at themselves and wiggle their butts like an idiot. Like
well,
how high upon the mountain are you that you say I can't laugh at myself and do a little butt wiggle and funny
and
faces.
and you see, my one of my biggest things that I preach is if you can't laugh at your own embarrassments, then you'll never get past any of your problems. And it's because if you can't sit there and do something silly and goofy and it not bother you, if you can sit there and do something totally off the wall, like what you were saying, me doing a twerking video, and
Mhm.
it not bother me, because I don't care about trolls. I don't care what they have to say about me. You know, I don't care what people have to say about me. They've been saying bad crap about me my whole life, and it has nothing to do with my skin tone. It has nothing to do with the way I dress. It has everything to do with the simple fact that I don't care. I'm going to be me, regardless of what people tell me to be. I'm not going to be stuffed in a box. I'm a wild animal. You got to let me go, you know. And there are so many incidences that I can think of where I not only lost friends, but I lost family members, been disowned, been broken up with, all because I refused to be anybody else but myself. And we're getting into a generation that has been so repressed
Yeah.
and told so much that you have to be this, that we're finally starting to see a generation of people going, no, screw you, I'm going to be myself. There's an explosion of Therians right now. And if you don't know what a Therian is for the chat, that's a furry. And guys, there's nothing wrong with most furries. There's some perverted ones out there, but there's nothing wrong with most of them. They just how many years, man? You being Native American, how many years have people been using an animal persona?
This one right here. This one right here. I wish that I could invite America to truly know me. Truly know me as an indigenous person and not a person, just someone who has an English accent. Because
Yeah.
when I am by myself, I'm living my indigenous life. I talk to animals. I speak in an animal tongue to my dog. My dog responds. And if you live in Los Angeles, you know that I talk to my animal in an animal tongue. And it's well documented because my animal and I are like the premier dream team. Premier dream team. But that idea that you can finally be yourself is an important thing because there's so much pressure to be someone else, so much pressure to play pretend or to lessen yourself, to be liked or to appease someone. And then why would you do that when you can be yourself and be happy? What you mentioned earlier about confidence, self-esteem. You told me that your father wouldn't allow you to go out in your body armor because it made him feel uncomfortable. And I'd say the reason I'm trying to ask you to do that twerking video is not just because I thought it would be amusing, but Also, the level of confidence that you would have to pull that off is far higher than the level of confidence that you really need to just tell him, shut the fuck up.
Well,
I appreciate you, but you don't get to tell me what to wear. You don't get to tell me what to do.
well, the only problem with that is he's vindictive. He'll throw me out. And right now I don't have anywhere to to go until I find somewhere to put my RV. So I got to walk on eggshells right now, and I hate that. I hate that. But I do tell him to shut the fuck up. We do get in fights on a regular basis. We are gasoline in a match. But at the same time, he's my father. He is the man who helped raise me. He did pay all of his child support on time. Guys, he was actually a decent dad, compared to what some of these people could have gotten, you know. But he's got his own ways. He's got his own way of doing things, and he doesn't understand it when somebody does it outside of his way. He can't grasp it. He can't comprehend it. And to me, I find that unfortunate because that just shows ignorance, you know. But at the same time, I understand where he's coming from. He's in a place of comfort and he doesn't want to leave that place of comfort, you know. And that is a huge problem for a lot of Americans. They don't want to leave that place of comfort, which in order to grow, excuse me, but in order to grow, you got to leave your comfort zone. You got to do something that makes you uncomfortable for a little while. Guys, I hate living here with my dad, but I have to.
Stuff, and you with your armor, you're learning to stand on your own two feet and, you know, maybe rebel a bit. And I don't think rebellion is something to be afraid of anymore. I think we need to acknowledge that rebellion is inevitable. It's what
Yeah.
you do at the stage of your life where you just look at what's going on and say, "Am I happy?" And if the answer is yes, then fine. You have nothing to worry about. But if you are in any way dissatisfied, you have to be able to say, I can change this. I can change something about this. Me, I have my PTSD. So for me,
And I have,
going outside is just scary. It is
yeah.
scary, but look at what I'm wearing. Do you think I feel scared when I am wearing something as and people might look at me and double look, whatever? Guess what? Who cares?
I
I don't
get
care
most
about
of the time.
anymore. I left all that behind and I became a stronger person.
Yeah, and you see, most of the time when people see me in the body armor and the tunic and the full Viking getup, they're like, dude, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. I wish I had the courage to do that exact same thing. I'm like, you do. Just do it. Don't worry about what people say. Don't worry about what they think. You want to walk down the road looking like Leif Erikson? Walk down the road looking like Leif Erikson. That's what America is all about. Freedom. Freedom of choice, freedom of expression, freedom of religion. You know. And yes, we're having some trouble with the freedom of expression problem right now that's going on. And it's because some people express themselves a little too violently. But that's human nature. We're violent as it is, so I don't really look at that as a huge issue for me. What I look at as a big issue is when people think that they have a reason to shove their culture down your throat. Whenever they're constantly, you have to be like me, you have to be like me, you have to be like me. Mine. Mhm.
Could you give an example of what you mean by that?
Well, a good example would be like a church pastor. You have to be like Christ. You have to be just like him. If not, you're not going to enter heaven. And I have seen so many people stress out over that little sentiment. Over, oh my God, am I going to go to hell? And it's because they have to be shoved in a box, or a teacher. Here's a good example of that. You mentioned teaching turns us into little machines. Well, a great example of that is, I had a teacher that had a picture of her best student and would brag about that student all day long and would try to compare everybody in the classroom to this kid that went on to graduate from high school at 14, you know, and she's trying to compare all of us in the classroom to a literal genius. And that never ends well. That doesn't end well for the student. That doesn't end well for the teacher. That doesn't end well for the parent because, like you said, rebellion will follow. They're going to get old enough, they're going to get tired and sick of it, and they're going to rebel. So I rebel in my own ways. Like if I'm going out by myself or if I'm going out with a friend, the breastplate's on. He's lucky I don't wear the palindromes yet, but it's just too damn hot. I need a little ventilation. But
Why do you think it's all for the ventilation?
Yeah, but these guys right here, which is my shoulder armor, I actually made this. These guys right here get pretty hot. They hold everything in. And in Texas heat, I don't want heat stroke. So if I'm going to get a stroke, it better be the right kind of stroke. You know what I mean? But
I miss Texas heat. I am stuck in California right now, and all I can like is all of the things that I miss about Texas.
Yeah, we have a pretty decent state here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you do. Unfortunately, because it should be that way. The entire country should be that way. It's good that you have options, but I know the one I prefer. I said no.
I know what you got. Simon B. Really good joke here. A son came home and told his father he had his first intercourse. Dad, proud, says, "Son, grab a beer and sit next to me." The boy said, "Dad, beer will do, but I'm not sure I can sit for a couple of days." The sad part is I've known some straight guys that had that happen to them. Yeah, from a woman. Tied him down. He thought he was about to get some nice, good little kinky stuff going on, and the next thing he knew, there went the strap on. Yeah.
Men have to be a little bit more adventurous with sex in general. Mostly because if you're having boring sex, you're most likely putting your prostate at risk. And that's one of the things that you should be talking to your doctor about. You should be talking to
Oh,
your
yeah.
doctor about whether or not you're having good, interesting sex. And something like what you just described is kinky, yeah, but it might keep you in a marriage and it might keep you healthy because the prostate is those weird glands that you kind of have to use. You can't just, let it back up.
That's why masturbation is healthy.
It is. Sex is more healthy than masturbation.
True, because you get a better release.
Mm.
But my girl's all the way in North Carolina. that's a long way to walk for a little bit of whoopee.
She should come and meet you like this and be like, "Oh, well, I'll just stretch the skin back in."
It's like I'm practicing.
Every day, just like I can almost reach it. Almost.
But no, I get what you mean, man. But I do got to hop on off of here now, brother. Jin's trying to call me, and I got to figure out what I'm going to go eat. I haven't eaten all day. I've already trained. I've tried to do some blacksmithing. I'm hot and hungry right now.
Thank you so much, Clint, for coming into my channel. A link to the Clint Gage channel is in my description. Everyone give a like, follow, and subscribe to this man as well.
Thank you all very much for letting me be here. And to y'all who have been respectful, Thank you so much for continuing the conversation, guys. You know, respect is something that needs to be taught in this country again. Respect is something that needs to be brought back to the world. And this young man right here, even if you don't agree with the fact that he's gay, he went out and tried to serve this country when literally majority of you won't even try.
Hmm.
So he does earn respect. He has earned it. He served his time, you know, guys. So please subscribe and like and share his videos too, guys. Please go check out his petitions. You know, he has the best intentions at heart, but the best intentions can only go so far. We need your help to do it. So, guys, once again, thank you all. And remember this: love you, mama, love you, papa, love yourself, be kind, and always find a way to help everybody. I'll check you all here next time. See you from a swamp, later from a gator.
Thank you, brother.
Later, man.
I'm so glad that we had Clint in the channel today. It was an amazing podcast. I hope you enjoyed it and maybe learned something. Ah, he was nice. He's always nice. Even when we disagree on certain things, we can still have conversations like adults about where we're coming from. The whole twerking thing is an interesting conversation. I never thought that I would reach a point in my life where I could be a spokesperson for the anthropological history and the physiological benefit of twerking. That's quite special, and I'm glad that I could share that moment with all of you. Jelly Moss, it's been an amazing podcast. I am also going to take a break, and I might hop on here later. So I look forward to seeing all of you again. Please like, follow, and subscribe. And if you feel any of the petitions that I have spoken about are things that you're interested in, check the description and sign some of the petitions that can help our community. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.